The manager tore up the resume of a black woman, dismissing her as unqualified, unaware that she was his new CEO. What happened next would change the company forever. Let's start from the beginning. Lauren Thompson, a successful African-American woman with 20 years of leadership experience, returns to her hometown after being appointed CEO of Whitestone Group. In her youth, this place had seemed like an unattainable dream, but now she intends not only to lead the company, but also to transform it. Her goal is to gain first-hand insight into the company's internal culture. Lauren decides to apply for a position as an administrative assistant under a fake name. She arrives at the office in modest attire, carrying a resume that lists only basic skills. At the interview, she is greeted by Eric Wilson, a department manager notorious among employees for being arrogant and harsh. Eric barely glances at Lauren before letting out a scoff. "Are you sure you're in the right place? We need professionals, not someone like you." Lauren remains composed. "I assure you, I'm ready for the job." Eric, lifting her resume demonstratively, tears it apart and tosses it into the trash. "We don't have time for unqualified people," he declares loudly, ensuring that the other employees hear. "You can leave." Lauren stands, her calm demeanor unwavering, and responds, "Thank you for your time." As she walks out, she notices how some employees are discreetly watching the scene unfold. Their expressions show a mixture of shame and silent solidarity. One of them, a young analyst named Mark, later whispers an apology to her in the hallway. He's always like that with new hires, especially with, "You know what I mean?" Lauren leaves the office, outwardly calm, but boiling with indignation inside. This episode only confirms the rumors of a toxic culture that she had heard before arriving. "We'll see how you behave when I take my place," she thinks as she approaches her car. Her driver opens the door and asks, "How did it go, ma'am?" Lauren smiles and replies, "They're not ready for change yet, but they will be soon." A week later, Lauren officially introduces herself to the employees as the new CEO of Whitestone Group. She enters the conference room, where a tense silence hangs in the air. Many of those present have never seen her face before. Eric Wilson, seated in the front row, freezes in shock upon recognizing the unqualified woman from the interview. "Good morning," Lauren begins, her voice confident and steady. "I am Lauren Thompson, your new CEO. My goal is to make this company a place where every employee can reach their potential without fear or discrimination." Eric offers a crooked smile, adjusting his tie. He still believes his position is secure. Lauren notices his smugness, but continues. "Over the past week, I've heard many stories about the way things are run here. If even part of what I've learned is true, change is inevitable." After the meeting, Lauren begins holding personal interviews with employees, inviting them for brief conversations in her office. She asks direct questions. "Do you feel like a valued part of the team? How are you treated?" Initially, employees are hesitant to speak, but they gradually open up, sharing stories of humiliation, rudeness, and bias. Lauren carefully records each account. One of the most emotional meetings is with a young employee from the finance department. "Eric never lets me finish my presentations during meetings," she confides. "If I propose something, he just laughs." Meanwhile, Lauren keeps a close eye on Eric, observing how he continues his usual toxic behavior. He harshly reprimands subordinates in front of the entire team, makes condescending remarks toward support staff, and blatantly flaunts his authority. Lauren watches from the sidelines, choosing not to intervene immediately, but documenting every instance. One morning, Lauren pays Eric a visit in his office. "Good morning, Mr. Wilson," she says with a cool smile. "I trust you've adjusted to my leadership by now." Eric forces a tight grin. "Of course, Madam CEO. Everything is going great." Lauren meets his gaze directly. "That's good to hear, because I'm planning a major meeting next week where I'll be introducing new company standards. You'll be at the center of attention." Eric nods, oblivious to the fact that his behavior has already become a cornerstone of her investigation. The day of the highly anticipated meeting arrives. More than 100 employees, including department heads, gather in the conference room. Eric sits confidently in the front row, smiling smugly, assuming this will be just another routine event. However, the atmosphere shifts the moment Lauren begins to speak. "Today, we're going to talk about company culture," Lauren announces. "A culture that either helps us grow or destroys us from within." She presses a button on her laptop, and the screen displays a chart of anonymous employee complaints from the past 3 years. The number of reports about toxicity and discrimination has spiked significantly. A murmur ripples through the room. "These are the numbers collected before I joined," Lauren continues. "But over the past week, I've personally spoken with dozens of employees, and I've heard things that cannot be ignored." Lauren pauses, her gaze settling on Eric. For instance, about how one manager finds it acceptable to tear up job applications without reviewing them, humiliate employees in front of their teams, and even make openly discriminatory remarks. The room falls silent. Eric's confident smile fades. He shifts in his chair, attempting to respond. This must be some kind of misunderstanding." Lauren raises a hand, cutting him off. "A misunderstanding? I have video footage and witness statements." She clicks to play a short video captured by a lobby security camera. On the screen, Eric is seen tearing up Lauren's resume and tossing it in the trash, saying, "We don't have time for the unqualified." The room is dead silent. Eric turns pale. "And that was only the beginning," Lauren says, holding up printouts of employee complaints tied to Eric's name. "All of these people were too afraid to speak out because they feared losing their jobs. But I'm here to change that." After the presentation, Lauren summons Eric to her office. He enters, visibly struggling to maintain composure. "Lauren, this was a mistake. I admit I messed up, but—" "This wasn't a mistake, Eric," she interrupts, her tone icy. "This is a systemic issue, and you are the embodiment of it." She hands him a termination letter. "I expect you to pack your belongings by the end of the day." Eric explodes. "You're destroying this company. Everything I did was for results." Lauren remains calm. "Results matter, but not at the expense of human dignity." Eric storms out, slamming the door behind him. Left alone, Lauren exhales deeply, a small but significant weight lifted from her shoulders. This was a hard decision, but it was a necessary step toward meaningful change. After Eric's dismissal, the office buzzed with subdued conversations. Employees cautiously discussed the events, many feeling hope for the first time in years. But Lauren knew that one bold step wouldn't be enough to eliminate a deeply rooted toxic culture. The very next day, she held a meeting with the department heads. "The time for empty promises is over," Lauren said, meeting the gaze of each person in the room. "Starting today, I'm implementing a new performance evaluation program that measures not just productivity, but also the environment a leader creates for their team." She then announced quarterly anonymous employee surveys and established a culture and ethics committee, inviting representatives from all levels of the company. Meanwhile, Lauren appointed a new manager to replace Eric. The position went to Mark, the young analyst who had once quietly apologized to Lauren. His sincerity and willingness to grow made him the perfect candidate. At an all-hands meeting, Lauren introduced him. "Mark embodies the culture we aim to build, a focus on people and a desire to grow together with the team." The first few weeks after the changes were tense. Many employees approached the new initiatives cautiously, unsure if this shift was genuine or temporary. Lauren made it a point to personally attend training sessions and informal discussions, speaking to employees directly and assuring them that the changes were real. One evening, while staying late at the office, Lauren noticed a janitor, a woman in her 60s, mopping the floors. Lauren approached her and asked, "How do you find working here?" The janitor, initially surprised, then smiled warmly. "You know, it's gotten better since you arrived. People are kinder to each other. Thank you." Those words filled Lauren with a quiet confidence. she realized that her efforts were beginning to make a difference. Months later, the results became undeniable. Productivity was on the rise, employees were more engaged, and the company began receiving positive feedback from clients, praising its respectful and attentive atmosphere. At the year-end meeting, Lauren addressed the entire team. "We've taken a huge step forward," she said, "but this is just the beginning. We'll continue to grow because now our strength lies in the respect we show for one another." The room erupted in applause. Lauren smiled, knowing her mission was far from over, but she had already set the foundation for a new era.